the roughing has been done, and now we have to just get going with the rest of the stuff. I did make some flower colors up here, but I really don't have the intensity of color that I should have on this palette for some of these flowers. But so we'll see what we'll do, what we can do. The photograph has, purple flowers. They're blue purple, I guess, and they show up, but they show up so much better in the photos. And part of the reason is because I really don't have possibly I should have some more darks in here in the vegetation, and I think that's where I'm probably screwing up there. So I'll have to do some work to find out what's going on there. Have to do some work on the butterflies, of course. They're not in here. So I'll just carry on here. Just going to plop some of this in, and it gives me a kind of an idea or a placement, an understanding on what I should do. See, you can see around here that once I put something down, such as this, they don't show up as much as you'd think that they would. So I'm just placing some where I think I don't want to overdo it, and some of these I want to pull together. Some of these tend to be a little bit red, purple, and then some are blue purple, and the purple ranges all over the place. So As you can see that there's a bunch of yellows still in here, and I'm going to fleck some of these yellows in. You know, with this palette knife. You see some of these in here. Now I'm using you can see what I'm doing here is I'm using some of the texture because this actually dried about 3 or 4 days because I wasn't able to get over it on the weekend of Memorial Day. So this is the day after Memorial Day, and so it's working to my benefit in some ways. So let's just use that and go with it. Gonna put some kind of a orange, yellow together here. And we'll see what we can get for using some of this. Yeah, that kind of halfway works. And what's nice about this too is people actually like to look at this kind of textural qualities of some of this stuff. And we'll put something else in there because one kind of doesn't make any sense. But you get a couple more in there and they do. Because one talks about and references the other. Well, this doesn't go up this far on this, but I think it's okay. Notice some of these qualities that this plant has and so on. I'm able to reproduce it to some extent just using the texture of the the ground here. So we'll just even out some of this right here. And it has some of those same qualities. There's some yellow greens I'll put in here. They tend to be like more blue greens. So. Now these are kind of in the way. I should have put those over here as we see, but it's not that important because here's our focal point. So we want to care about that more than all this other stuff. So that's what we'll do then. I see a bunch of this yellow and stuff all the way in here. We'll just kind of throw some of that in here then. Just allow it to fall on the edges, and for the edges to kind of scrape off the paint from the palette knife. I think we want to, I want to put together some of this light white, very light, creamy, yellow-green vegetation here, and I'm going to put some of that in too. Put some of that in here. You see a lot of light greens back here. I'm going to see what I can do about that. See some of them, and I had some over here, some of this very burnt orange, orangey brown color up here. I'm going to put some of that up here. There's some of that all over, and we'll put some of that over here too, kind of balance it out a little bit. There's also a bunch of this stuff going down here. Now, the big thing when it comes to making this more realistic is to worry about sort of some of the edges of some of the main flowers. You don't want to care about a lot of them, but on some of them you have to care about about them. So grab a bunch of white here. Care about the profile more than anything. Make some of this orangish. I'm going to put some of these, some of this should be in a little bit darker. Because that was wrong. Okay, use some of this light green. Not, I'm not drawing it as thin as we see on the photo. You want to go a little bit darker down in some of those places as well. In here I need to darken some of this area up, allow some of this you can see how that kind of works a little better. So as you can see, I've hardly worked on the anything regarding the butterflies yet. They're although they're the subject matter, there's not much to do on them, I don't think. Some of those darks poking through all of this foliage. So by doing darks, lights, and so on, now this is a more complicated thing. This is not something someone should start out with. You gotta know when to stop, when to start. Don't want any too many darks back there. There really isn't any blue back here, but I'm putting it in there. Because it sends it back. It sends it back. I want some blue to be seen. So I'm kind of going in there, and with some of that palette knife, I'm just kind of persuading them to look more like vertical stroking down and so on. I'm gonna define the butterflies a little bit more. I'm not spending a lot of time on them. I'm not just to get the profile right and so on. Using my black I use is Ultramarine Blue. Ultramarine Blue, burnt umber, and sometimes a little bit of deoxidine purple. Got a fairly wide brush here. I do not have a small one. People always use these ultra small brushes all the time. It's on a purple flower, of course, and so we'll put that in. So why is it that this one doesn't look like there's a flower there, although same value? Well, it's because there's no darks around it. You have nothing to compare it with. So I'm going to put them in. And we'll use a little bit of course, there's more of this red. Red orange, I should say. We'll just put that in for right now. We're not looking for everything to be absolutely correct right now. You see, this is interesting. There's an extra. Red back there because of the darks on the wings. They come out a little bit further. So I'm making this a little bigger than I thought. So I better make this bigger too. So I draw pretty much by using the brush. Temporarily go over here. Look at this one. It's more orangey yellow. A little bit of dark in there on this wing here. Comes back here, down and over. And I can't really see the rest of it, so I'm not going to put much in. A little bit on the other side of some kind of seed pod or something. There's this other little bunch of this gorgeous little flower here. So let's put him in. He also has this yellow and okay, so now we're going to look at these again. We got to look at them in comparison. See, this one is way too big. I did screw it up. Okay, so let's fix it. Let's fix it. Let's also go around here, and I notice that, you know, it could be there's a couple darks in here. Background darks. Okay, I'm cutting this back a little bit, using some light green to do it. So I'm cutting back more appropriate size. Sorry for my hesitation, my voice and so on. I'm actually thinking and it hurts. So again, just kind of put some of this in again, going smaller, going much smaller. Probably better this way. I flipped by mistake some red over here. So I'm going to just leave it there and kind of pull it in. That's okay. We need some of that red in other places too. We'll probably put some of that down here as well. But not noticeable. Let's see. This one looks kind of neat though, doesn't it? So that's nice. Let's going to reinstate some of that. Use a combination of cad red and cad orange for this. I'll use a littler brush in there later to kind of see what I can do there. But if you can get by not having to do a lot of detail, it's better. Detail kills a painting. Detail kills a painting. Okay, now, so I got problems up here yet. running out of. Even in this thing, I use a lot of paint, so once in a while I will have to fill it. So just the way it works. Gonna fill this reservoir. I make this container and I sell it on my website, TomFisherArt.com, and I really like it. Works so neat for especially plein air. I hope to go out Thursday and do some plein air if the weather will put up with me. Mix up some green here, and it's kind of a blue-green in a lot of ways. Still light though, light blue-green. So I'm going to grab a bunch of this and go in here. Some squiggles. Squiggles that look like wild flowers. Some crisscrossing there. Just appears to be the crisscross pattern that should be put in there. I see some lighter lights could be added here, and it might work. Yeah, I think I have to come up here now and put this in a little better. So what am I doing to cover this up? Well, paint. Use some paint. People are it's so hard to get people to use paint. Aren't they supposed to be painting if they don't use any? Instead, they'll use this little dab and stretch it as far as they can. So let's go in here again and reestablish it a little bit. moving in a little bit more to see how that thing is actually looks. Putting a little dab of yellow on one side and a dab of kind of reddish on the other. We just kind of lay that in. Okay, once again, I'm trying black made from Ultramarine Blue and burnt umber. And I'm going to just put a little bit of that in here. Come up on this side a little bit. On this side a little bit. Okay, we'll hit this side now a little bit. There is I guess there's a little bit of yellow up there from the flower. The color I really want for these the blue-red that I really want, I can't really get for my palette, I don't think. I'm having some problems. I might have to add maybe some Alizarin Crimson to get some of that. Maybe I can after all. difficult. Sometimes you have to go out and actually buy another tube of paint, because any mixture will gray. Any mixture will gray. If you don't have an intense, some intensities of color cannot be mixed, so therefore you might have to get another tube. But I try to stick to these 10 typically all the time, but I might have to go out and buy one to finish this painting off, because I want a more intense red, blue. Find out that there's really nothing more that'll give me a more enhanced blue, so either have to go darker on some of the background darks or heavier on the pigment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the latter. We're going to go a little bit heavier on the pigment, see how that works. So I'm applying heavier pigment on these flowers. And to some extent that works. So we're going heavier on the blue. And that helps to some extent. Going a little heavier on some of the background as well. Going a little bit heavier, darker on the background. Allow some of the leaf profiles to be placed in here. And it brings the flower out that way. So that's helpful. I'm going to break the profile and break some of the profile and some of these splotches that I have for flowers here. And it brings out the flower somewhat. Down here I'm also doing that. And down here. Some of these flowers around this I want to accentuate a little bit, so want to ensure that that background is somewhat darker so that these spell out a little bit more. You can see how that somewhat helps. Placing some of these dark and just a little highlight on the left side. So the problem here is knowing when to stop and say, hey, this is good enough. That's the real problem here. Okay, I want to talk to you about one thing here. Notice how I have these you know, just like the photograph, it has these lead-in lines, and so they're all leading in here. Then we see here, and then we jump. We've got some darks coming up here, but we've got these reds, and that pulls our eye around and over here, as well as this dark here, this later makes a circular motion. Then we have these darks coming in here, which brings you around. So it gives you a lot of eye movement in this picture. And so, you know, I like that part a lot. I think one thing that's bothering me now is I don't know, I think this is a little dark in here. Don't have so much stuff going on around here that these do not also stay as important as they should. I'm going to add some lights in here. And I'm going to also insert a few lights in here because it appears I want to bring those out a little bit. Yeah, there were some lights that were just a little bit too light in here. So I'm toning some of those down. so that the lights of the flowers will read a little bit more. Yeah, it's pretty hard. Sometimes you're fighting one another. Value is the most important thing, but sometimes it gets kind of hairy as to exactly what to do. And yeah, I think it's coming along a little bit. Play up some more of these paint pigments a little bit heavier in some guys to make them pop a little bit more. Break some of the profiles that don't look right. Yeah, it seems to be better now. I like it better. You don't want to make these paths, sight paths, too heavy, too dark, and so on, because then people kind of know what you're doing. You don't want to let on. I see a couple darks in here I could put in. Right there. Just a little bit more excitement. Probably a little bit more excitement up here too. I'm getting back from my position here, scooting back with my chair, trying to get an idea of whether I've overdone something, underdone something, or whatever. I think they're reading pretty good now and not so bad. I think what we'll do now is add some little highlights on a couple of the blossoms. I think that's what I need to do, which is kind of difficult in some ways. Pick out a few of them. think we'll add some whites here and there. I think we'll stick more over here now. Every once in a while there's some white objects and some white flowers or just something. It has a higher adding just a trifle bit of lights and accents. I see that there could be some other ones in here. So we're going to put those in. Don't want to overdo it though. Some kind of thistle or something back there has a profile like that. More of a push-pull relationship there. You see some over here. And that's not such a bad deal because of my red being here, so maybe I should have a little bit more lights right in here. Just to pull that back in, make it read across. Okay, now my eyes go to those three reds pretty soon and pretty effectively. This seems dead right in here though. So I'm going to put a pretty big, a number of them right in here. Kind of a big one. Okay, what you want to do is in these areas where I want them to go searching, but this is the main focal point. So I want the hardest edge. I should have the hardest edge. Most enhanced color, which I'm going to probably try to do. Most enhanced color. All right, sorry about that. Evidently, I don't really know when the camera turned off. So what I've been doing is working on darkening some of the background and bringing these out because of it, and adding extra texture to the flowers. I mean, ensuring that this darker path and this darker path lead around to the reds, as well as achieving a triangular and circular motion around here with the eyes. And I think I've done that. So that's it. Sorry if I missed some of it for you. Sometimes it's kind of hard to know what's going on. I think I'll sign it, and I'll sign it probably down here. We'll use I'll use Alizarin Crimson for that, which is a dark red. Put that down here. There, it's done. Thank you. Come again, subscribe, ring the bell, and thumbs up. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.